Good morning, students. So in the earlier lecture we have started and we have dealt with the character sketch of Laura and Lizzie from Goblin Market, and then also talked in detail about the imageries and metaphors related to the poem Goblin Market. We have left the video lecture 1 mentioning about the imagery, or let's say the metaphor with regard to the taking of silver penny, or let's say the silver penny which Laura wants to give to the goblins so that she could get hold of the fruit. Moving on, another image that is kept inside the poem by Rossetti is the usage of the word virgin. You can see that the word virgin is included in the descriptions of Lizzie's actions, completely antithetical to Laura. To escape from the goblins, despite all the insults she had to endure, she never lets herself give in to the temptation. Again, coming on the biggest biblical image of a pure woman. Laura is not a poor woman. She is the one who had succumbed completely to the temptation of the goblin. Whereas for Lizzie is completely different from Laura. Lizzie doesn't succumb to the temptations of the goblins. At the same time, she tries to escape from them. Or in a way, you can say that the goblins, which symbolically represents the evil male masculine characters who's trying to scourge upon women, and at the same time Lizzie is such an innocent pure woman who tries to escape from those kinds of men. So goblins are trying to abuse in a different way, whereas Lizzie tries never to succumb to those abuses and she tries to escape from those abuses, whereas Laura completely surrenders to that abuses. Even though they don't try to abuse, even the sharing of the fruit can be considered as an acceptance of that temptation and also the abuse. So in that way, the word virgin is important. Then look at the lines which comes at the end. Days, weeks, months, years afterwards, when both were wives with children of their own, their mother hearts beset with fear. So days, weeks, months and years have passed after this big debacle that has happened in the life of Laura and Lizzie. Now they have learned, or let's say Laura has learned her lesson. And as grown up girls, or let's say women, they never fully or completely recovered from the ordeal that has been supplied to them by the goblin men. This is surprising, as Lizzie doesn't have to entirely becoming traumatic with the experience, because Lizzie had escaped from that experience. But Rossetti portrays the two characters in such a way that the girls, even though Lizzie had tried to escape or escaped from that temptation, she still has that trauma within her mind. Same applies to Laura too. So they appear to be more buoyant after her run-in with the goblins. Perhaps seeing this effect that they had on Laura made her once again fearful of the men and their powers. So Laura and Lizzie scares the powers of the men, or let's say patriarchy, in a different way because of their experience with the goblins. And Laura is also now much changed because she had accepted, or let's say Lizzie had poured her quality of innocence and purity onto Laura, and Laura is now completely a changed woman and also a good mother. Therefore, she wants her children that the same fate might fall on them. So every now and then Laura wants their children not to talk to strangers, not to take anything from complete strangers, not to succumb to any temptations. It's just like she has now matured herself to be a proper mother to care for her children. What she and her sister had endured, she doesn't want her children to endure. So that way, days, weeks, and months again points out the passage of time. And time is always been important when it comes to Goblin Market, the poem. Let's look at the next section, themes. Now we have already elaborated on the images, and within the images you can find a lot of themes. We have talked about temptation, we have talked about the biblical references, how Rossetti wants you to be a noble woman. So the analysis, or looking into this slide is more easy, since we have done the earlier slides, where and we since we have you know properly gone through the earlier slides. So temptation, I think you already know why it is considered to be a major theme. Then sexual exchange, obviously, in certain conversations, let's say Lizzie asking Laura to lick the fruit from her face, all these things have kind of sexual connotations, uh, directly or indirectly. So that has also been a part of the theme, and you have to also understand that's a pre-Raphaelite poetry. Then sisterly redemption, a sister helps another sister to rejuvenate from her lost life. And all these things are influenced by the experience of the poet as working as an associate sister at Highgate. There she had seen a lot of fallen women, confessing, crying, and trying to bring back their serenity and their purity upon them. So that those experience had made Rossetti to write this poetry. And another popular theme is about losing one's virginity. You have to understand that in a sexual relationship, or let's say in sex, a woman every now and then uh, loses her virginity, and losing that virginity is a painful experience, not only physically but also mentally. So moreover, it's some kind of a physical experience. So quite a painful experience is that about losing one's own virginity for a woman. And the usage of the word tear, the word tear has been used in this context. Now tear, you always associate that with tearing of any object. Maybe here the tearing might represent the sexual organ of the of women. So the usage of the word tear represents the instant pain that can be felt by a woman when she engages in sexual intercourse for the first time. So that marks the virginity. Then next point is the sin. Obviously we were dealing with a lot of sins. Sin of consuming the fruit, which is obviously similar to consuming the forbidden fruit by Eve. Then the presentation of men versus women, like goblins versus Laura and Lizzie. Goblins, they are men shown to be animalistic. You have a line like that. One had a cat's face, one had a whisks. So two of those goblins are represented as one with a cat face and one with a whisk, which obviously shows a kind of a predatory aspect. The Laura and Lizzie are the prey for them. It suggests the goblins to be inhuman, ugly, which indirectly implies that the sisters are not. Here also, Rossetti is trying to show her disapproval of the way men behaved at the time. Obviously, we are looking at a Victorian age. So, sorry, not a Victorian age actually. In this age, what happens is that again patriarchy dominates. And since patriarchy dominates, men are at the hem of the affairs, and they are the one who inscribes or formulates rules for the women to follow. Therefore, the representation of men and women. Then women and their femininity. Obviously, it has a connection to the first theme of sisterhood and companionship. And again, the recurring image within the poem is the passage of time. It's mentioned, I think, more than 6 or 7 times within the poem itself. So, a question regarding the recurring imagery of the poem always points towards the word time or the passage of time. In concludingly, I would really like to go into certain questions related to Goblin Market. What is the moral of Goblin Market, which we have already done in the themes and also with reference to the images? That is, sisterly love is important. Family love is more generally important to keep one from falling into temptation. It's only because of the love of Lizzie that Laura is able to escape from the temptation of goblins. And also, the poem specifically speaks about sexuality, especially female sexuality and purity, and how the latter, that is, the purity, should be protected and maintained. The poem also critiques the unfair standards for women in Rossetti's contemporary time. Then central themes, I think we have already done that, so let's not go into that. Symbolism, yes, we also have done that, but let's list it out for you so that it becomes easy. So temptation is there, sexuality, the silver penny we talked about, which Laura carries, then female genitalia and the flowers as a symbol of delicate female purity. You know, there is the reference of lily and white and gold, those colors. So, what does the silver penny represent in Goblin Market? It used to describe how Lizzie, unlike Laura, held on to her innocence and virginity. That's also there. It also represents the female genitalia, that she is not ready to give that silver penny just to the goblins because she finds it more precious. Just like that, the female genitalia, or let's say your virginity, is something pure which she doesn't like to give it to the men, just like that. Is Goblin Market a romantic poem? Yes, obviously, because it's not from the Victorian age. Obviously, it is from the Romantic age. So it is marked by all the features of Romanticism and also the social norms of Victorian England, since it is on the brim, and Gothic literature. So you can call it as one to be influenced by Romanticism. And what are the goblins selling or Goblin Market? What are the goblins selling in the Goblin Market? There is a typo error. The goblins are selling fantastic fruit in Goblin Market, and it's a simple. It doesn't matter whether the fruit is apple, cherries, or berries. Doesn't matter. The fruit in its entirety is a symbol of temptation and corruption. So Laura is entranced by this forbidden nature to consume that forbidden fruit. So that's what is important. It doesn't matter whether it is apple, raspberry, cherries. That's the reason why Rossetti gives much time to explaining about different kinds of fruit which they have, because it doesn't matter what the fruit is. What really matters is what goblins are ready to sell with the fruits, and that is nothing more than the temptation. So thank you. This is the end of the slide. This is the end of the poem Goblin Market. I guess you have understood much about the Goblin Market, the characters, the symbols, the images, the themes, etc. Thank you for watching. We'll meet in another day on another class. Thank you.